Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. Israel will strike Hezbollah in a response to a rocket attack that killed 12 children and teenagers in the Golan Heights. Two officials revealed that Israel is preparing for several days of fighting. Meanwhile, the Polish authorities' response to the danger, which has resulted in airlines cancelling flights from Lebanon, may come as a surprise. They advise that instead of the embassy, they should turn to the airlines for help. Officials are posting a social media post saying that the consul cannot help. What can and should the foreign ministry really do in such a situation? The Polish embassy in Lebanon has made a surprising announcement testifying to the lack of a plan to evacuate Poles from Lebanon. A wave of criticism of its content came from law and justice politicians. What can the Polish government really do? Israel has vowed to retaliate for Saturday's Hezbollah rocket attack that killed 12 children in the Golan Heights. Meanwhile, the Polish embassy in Beirut is advising Poles stranded in the Lebanese capital because of flight cancellations not to report to the consulate, but to contact the airlines and ask for a new ticket on the next available flight. In one version of the communiqué, the Post says it will support citizens in an emergency situation. In view of the tense situation in Lebanon, Polish diplomatic services remain in contact with Polish citizens on the ground. Appropriate measures will be taken as the situation develops. At present, LOT Polish Airlines flights to Beirut are operating normally. In the second, he stresses that the consul is not in a position to intervene in this case. If your flight is cancelled, ask your airline for a new ticket for the next possible flight. The consul is not in a position to intervene in this case. The message infuriated Law and Justice. Lebanese territory is being bombed by Israel. It is possible that a full-scale invasion will begin soon. Airlines are cancelling flights. And what does the Polish embassy in Lebanon tell Polish citizens? That they should fend for themselves. This is disgraceful behaviour on the part of the foreign ministry, but we can expect nothing less from this government. Those days are over. On the 15th of October, we promised the Polish people that the era of nepotism, greed and unbridled carelessness would come to an end. Perfect post, Mr. Speaker, at Szymon Hołownia, considering how you left Poles stranded in Lebanon. But there are many possible ways to intervene. The role of the Polish Consular Service is to provide all possible assistance to our citizens, and under the Law and Justice government this was the case. Immediately after the Hamas attack on Israel, we immediately launched this emergency evacuation of Polish citizens, because at that time it was not known how the situation would develop, both in Israel and in Gaza, where it was much more difficult, and we took such action. And today it is the task of the government to prepare such measures as well, especially as the situation in Lebanon is becoming extremely dangerous. At the moment we are waiting for the Israeli response, and it is difficult to say at this point whether it will be a ground invasion, which has been talked about for many months, or whether there will be some form of de-escalation, which is what the United States, among others, is pushing for. Precisely because of the escalating situation in the Middle East and the growing risk of an Israeli attack on Lebanon, the German airline Lufthansa and the Lebanese Middle East Airlines have already suspended or cancelled their flights to and from Beirut, the capital of the invaded state. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is aware of the need to prepare evacuation plans, but for unknown reasons is still not implementing them. We will somehow prepare evacuation plans and keep them in mind together with ambassadors in neighbouring countries, including the Palestinian Authority. A month ago, at a meeting of the Committee on Foreign Affairs, I asked whether the government was planning to do anything about it, and I was told that there were discussions and analyses. Now a month has passed, preparations for evacuation are being made by other countries, more airlines are suspending flights, and our ministry is doing nothing about it. It is the duty of the foreign ministry to help Poles abroad, especially when their safety is at risk. Editor Holdinska, TV Republika. The Smolensk subcommittee has presented further evidence in the case of the Smolensk tragedy. Anthony Maciarewicz's team announced that TNT was discovered on the wreckage of the Tupolev. This fact was hidden from the public for years and was never included in official reports. As you can see, the truth is still inconvenient. As a result of the actions of the Marshal of the Sejm, Szymon Hołownia, the Smolensk subcommittee's press conference was held late and at a different location. The Smolensk subcommittee's press conference was scheduled to begin in the parliamentary column room at 12 p.m. Polish time. However, because of alleged renovations, Antoni Macierewicz was not allowed inside. Mr. Hołownia is certainly a person who cares about getting things done well, as efficiently, as effectively as possible. He just doesn't always get it right. This is what the supposedly renovated column room looks like today. Not even a trace of renovation. Everything indicates that Speaker Hołownia simply wanted to make it as difficult as possible to hold the press conference. Why? The public learned that the services knew about the explosives on the wreckage of the Tupolev as early as 2012.
To są z kolei elementy sterowania.
These are, in turn, control elements, fragments of the control panel, on which there is TNT and nitro. That is, information saying that there is explosive material there, all in the cockpit.
Wybuchowy, wszystko w kokpicie.
Information about explosives and the Tupolev has been around for years. When the investigative journalist Cezary Gmizh described it in the pages of Rzeczpospolita, the core of the editorial staff was expelled from the paper. This information was not included in official reports. The fact that this tragedy happened, it can be said that Putin did it, but that Polish investigators prevented the truth from being established is already a very serious allegation. The Smolensk subcommittee has determined that the explosives must have been planted during the renovation of the Tupolev, which took place in 2009 in Russia.
Smolensk jest kluczem do zrozumienia.
Smolensk is key to understanding many of the actions and events associated with Donald Tusk and those around him, as well as his surprising consistency in cooperation with Russia during this period of deep reset. The Smolensk tragedy is also the story of 14 years of struggle for the truth. During this time, the Russian side flooded us with lies. In Poland, these falsehoods have been propagated by TVN, among others.
To są słowa, które miał wypowiedzieć pierwszy pilot.
These are the words supposedly spoken by the first pilot of the Tupolev a dozen seconds before it hit the ground. Although this is a very serious caveat, because they are not fully read yet. They read, "If I don't land, I will be killed or they will kill me." These are very strong words, hence the disclaimer. Symbolically, at the end of today's press conference, only TV Republica asked questions. Other stations were silent. They did too much wrong and lied too much to ask questions today. On the 10th of April 2010, the entire Polish delegation, headed by President Lech Kaczynski, died in the Smolensk tragedy. The report published by the Smolensk subcommittee states that the cause of the tragedy was explosions. When Donald Tusk took over the government, the report was removed from state websites. Paweł Broch, TV Republica. Censorship at Polish television is now on the lips of the entire world. Przemysław Babiarz, who was punished for warning against communism, is becoming an icon for defending Christianity and freedom of speech. Journalists from many countries are writing about him, and more circles in Poland are also coming to his defence. Among those standing up against the TVP censors are the National Broadcasting Council and the Association of Polish Journalists. "Down with communism" slogans are also shouted by fans.
This is Ruch Chorzów Stadium, and a clear statement from the fans. Przemek Babiarz, don't apologize. Support for the journalist punished by the illegal authorities of Polish television was also shown by Legia Warsaw fans. Mr. Przemysław, we are with you. Down with communism, down with communism. Because it was for a comment warning against communism that TVP journalist Przemysław Babiarz was suspended. A world without heaven, nations, and religion. This is a vision of peace to embrace everyone. This is the vision of communism, unfortunately. This is an interpretation of the song Imagine, which was the musical illustration of the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. The fact that Imagine is a communist manifesto was even said by its author, John Lennon, but TVP thinks it's wrong to think so. Mutual understanding, tolerance, reconciliation are not only the basic values of the Olympics, they are also the standards that guide the new TVP. There is no agreement to violate it. The statement is bizarre because Przemysław Babiarz didn't say a word to undermine mutual understanding, tolerance, or reconciliation. He told the truth. Removing him from his job for this is censorship. The National Broadcasting Council is initiating proceedings in this case. The Constitution says that the National Broadcasting Council upholds freedom of speech, access to information, and the public interest in the media. Without a doubt, telling the truth in the public media, in the media in general, is in the public interest. The Association of Polish Journalists also opposes censorship in the public media. The scandalous decision to suspend editor Babiarz shows the extent of censorship and incompetence in the new TVP, which was illegally taken over last December, and the lack of elementary knowledge of the journalistic craft of the new, illegally elected authorities of public television, which the government of Donald Tusk wants to weaken and then destroy. At the moment, TVP is a group of people who are very afraid for their jobs, and that is bad, because if you are afraid, you cannot be a journalist. It is Przemysław Babiarz who has just shown shown courage. He warned that beautiful ideals often hide murderous ideologies, and that communism, which we once defeated, could return. Of course, this does not necessarily mean the pulling out of fingernails by the security forces, as in the past, but it can mean the pulling out of consciences, which I think is much worse. What the censors of the illegally taken over TVP did not foresee was that by closing the mouth of one journalist, they would open Pandora's box. Today, Przemysław Babiarz and his comments on communism are on the lips of the whole world. Konrad Wąż, TV Republika.
Earlier today, Paris Olympic organisers cancelled the triathlon swimming training session in the River Seine for a second day. It was cancelled 24 hours before the men's race after heavy rain late last week increased both pollution levels and the speed of the current in the river.
55 triathletes are scheduled to line up at 8 a.m. local time on Tuesday, July 30th, marking the first time athletes have competed in the river at an Olympics since the 1900s. The women's individual race is scheduled for Wednesday, July 31st, also at 8 a.m. local time. Paris 2024 Organizing Committee CEO Etienne Taubois said he was confident the event would be held as scheduled and that organizers were counting on the warm sunshine on Monday to lower water levels in the river and slow the current.
We don't know yet if the swim will happen. For now, we just know at 4 a.m. on the day of the race, we will know if it will be happening the swim. If not, we'll change the date of the race. And then there's another plan for the second plan. So I hope it will be a triathlon. So I hope it will be on Wednesday too. And let's see.
Athletes will be informed immediately if the race is canceled. Sunday's training session was also canceled after tests carried out on Saturday showed water quality did not meet the required threshold. Paris 2024 has already had to rearrange some schedules, with men's skateboarding delayed to Monday from Saturday due to rain. A swimmable Seine River is a key legacy that organizers of the Olympics aim to leave behind for Paris residents. France has invested some $1.4 billion in a new wastewater infrastructure to cut the amounts of sewage flowing into the river, and city authorities have announced plans for 3 swimming sites to open to the public by June next year.
That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.